This is Hannibal from the HannibalTV.com. MMA legend and former UFC and WCW star David Tank Abbott, who was hanging out with Clint Eastwood earlier this weekend, told me on Friday he would like to get back into the pro wrestling industry, which he's been out of since the end of WCW. He's been back training in MMA for numerous months now, and he says he's been feeling better and better every week. He underwent liver and kidney transplants in recent years, but he's feeling very healthy now. I've done several interviews with him now here on the Hannibal TV, which you can check out, and I wish him luck getting back into the wrestling business. Speaking of getting back into the wrestling business, Lance Storm has announced that he's returning to WWE as a producer. And Rob Van Dam made a statement on Twitter the other day, taking a shot at All Elite Wrestling, which he calls All Petite Wrestling. He says, truthfully, I was a small 235-pound wrestler because the average guys were closer to 300 pounds, and I was the only one creating and doing RVD moves. Now the average wrestler is 190 pounds, and they all do my shit. Elite equals petite. Well, I will agree with him that there is way too many small wrestlers in All Elite Wrestling. RVD said in another post that most of the wrestlers in there don't even look like wrestlers, and I agree with that. And I think that's going to be a big turnoff for people as time goes on. And we've seen the ratings decline week after week in All Elite Wrestling. And I believe that's partly due to having very few larger-than-life characters on that show. Former WWE wrestler Mike Knox said he turned down a full-time WWE contract offer because he can't do a full-time schedule anymore the way his body's feeling right now, but he would be open to a part-time offer. A funny bit of trivia with me and Mike Knox is when I was called to get my WWE contract offer back in 2009, they asked me a series of questions before officially offering me the contract, and one of the questions was, why do you think you're better than Mike Knox? And I always found that to be a little bit interesting. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is going to be playing Mark Kerr, who's a former UFC champion, in a big Hollywood blockbuster movie coming up. He made that announcement on Friday. In other news, the NWA's Dave Lagana issued a statement regarding some comments Jim Cornette made, I guess making light of suicide. The NWA said over the last few days a situation was brought to our attention in regards to comments made by Jim Cornette that have been taken as making light of the subject of suicide. We've addressed the situation internally with Mr. Cornette and made it clear that any comments in regard to this subject are not endorsed by Lightning One and National Wrestling Alliance. WWE stars, many of them were held for 24 hours in Saudi Arabia, which is why the NXT wrestlers appeared on Smackdown in more numbers than ever before. That was because a lot of the WWE wrestlers could not make it back to the States in time. There's a lot of rumors and controversy about the real reason that they were held there for so long. Some say it may have been to do with a business situation with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia and WWE, but the official reason is there was mechanical issues with the plane. For whatever reason, they didn't put the wrestlers on a commercial airline. According to Dave Meltzer, it was actually Vince McMahon that wrote the SmackDown show and approved it on Friday. It was not Triple H. It was up in viewership, being back on Fox last week with an average of 2.543 million viewers. I saw it on when I was in the gym Friday night, and I did notice they posted the full match from Brock Lesnar and Cain Velasquez on the show, so they did post a pay-per-view match free on there with big names, and Lesnar was also on the show. The first hour averaged 2.60 million viewers. The second hour fell to 2.48 million viewers, so it was down the second hour. It's going to be interesting to see if featuring all the NXT wrestlers on Smackdown this week will lead to an increase in NXT viewership for next Wednesday's episode of NXT. Meltzer also pointed out that NXT business was significantly down overall in the last quarter, according to the WWE shareholders call that just happened last Thursday.